I was wondering if anybody has experience with the 60 gig fully backwards compatible FAT 4 USB port PS3s. Experience applying thermal compound and what yielded the best results for you. What type of compound did you use? Can you please let me know? I have a feeling my PS3's running a little louder than it should be, which would indicate maybe that it's the heatsink thermal compound maybe isn't quite right on it. But basically I used Arctic Silver 5, and I did purchase this Arctic Silver 5 2 years ago, so maybe that's my first problem. I got it 2 years ago when I built my computer, and I've kept it in the basement in a tube. When I used it, I made sure to take out the first little bit of the Arctic Silver and just throw it away because I didn't want to use the bit that's like, you know, sitting on the end of the syringe. So I made sure to use some that was inside the syringe and not on the tip, on the nose of it. And I've tried a few different methods. I've tried using a pea-size amount and then letting the heatsink spread it out. There was too much thermal compound when I pulled it off, I noticed. And then I tried using a spread technique. I used the paper, like a plastic bag, wrapped around my finger, and I spread it a thin layer out, and that yielded about the same result. But then when I pulled it off, I noticed that one of the heat sinks wasn't even touching the compound on one of the processors. The other one was, but the one wasn't. So that might have told me that maybe there was a little gap there on that one processor that was a little larger of a gap than the other processor. So, you know, the next time what I did was I put a small pea-size amount on the processor that wasn't touching, and then I spread a thin layer on the other processor that was touching, and it yielded me about the same results as I have now. This process that I used is I spread it thin, just like my second time, but when I bolted it back together, all those times when I bolted it back together, there's four screws or bolts on the back of the heatsink, and I would screw in the one there diagonally, so I'd do like 4 turns on each to make sure that the heatsink, you know, laid down flush and it'd go in flush. I noticed on the heatsink though that one part of the heatsink, there was 2 backplates for the 2 processors, and I noticed that one of the heatsinks wiggled a little bit because it was fitted on that type of a way. It didn't wiggle a lot, just a little bit, because it was like 2 separate heat sinks. And the smaller one was on the one that wasn't touching quite well. So what I did was this time when I bolted it up with the thin layer compound on the processors, I tightened up diagonally, just, you know, on the one smaller heat sink, and then after I tightened that one up all the way, I'm in the middle of something, then I tightened up the other one, small, you know, each of the screws diagonally, and it seemed to have light it flush, but yeah, I still don't know if I should be happy with my results. This is my PS3. Seems a little loud to be this loud sitting on the dashboard for about 35 minutes. So this is 35 minutes in the dashboard. I think it kicked into this at about 25 minutes in. It went to this loudness. So my question is this the loudest this thing can go, this particular model? Because I don't know whether or not this is the loudest fan speed, and like if this is the loudest it's gonna go, then I'm fine, because I mean, if there's another fan speed, then I'm fine, because it hasn't kicked into that higher speed yet, which would tell me that the processor, you know, is even hotter. So if it's sitting at this speed and there's still another like high speed to go, Because I know on this video, I'll put it in my link, this kid holds his PS3 upside down so that these vents on the top can't let the air escape, rise out the top. And his thing kicks in so loud, like unbelievably loud. It's like a jet engine. So tell me if this doesn't really sound unreasonable for being about 36 minutes in the boot menu, and it doesn't get louder than this in games either. I haven't noticed it getting louder than this in games. So this seems to be where it just sits at. So yeah, if your PS3 is maybe sitting at like the second speed or whatever, like it's really quiet, like indefinitely in the boot menu, then please let me know, because mine certainly isn't. And I'm not talking about the slim PS3, I'm talking about the fat PS3. So don't tell me about your slim PS3, tell me about your fat PS3, and hopefully also mention out whether your fat PS3 is a 4 USB port and like what gig it is. So like be like, oh, mine's a 4 gig or 20 gig 4 USB, because I believe that shares the same motherboard as the 4 USB 60 gig that I have. So, or is it a 40 gigabyte? I don't know. This is my first PS3. So anyways, leave a comment. Tell me what thermal compound you use. Tell me how you spread it. Tell me your experiences, both good and bad, and whether or not this sounds dangerously high to your experience with your personal PS3 or ones that you've heard. And please let me know. Thank you.